All right, I'm gonna introduce myself in my native language. Ho Rajra Hunchinachke ga hingaire, Maikude Rajra, Kori Funmaker ga hingaire, Nish Aja Hachieje, Hunch Yaki Kadach Wawanje. Hianch Hada, Hunchateka hingaire, um, um, Hi unihara jampare shana jampare shana chat inga hingaire. Um I just introduced myself. I said that my Ho Chunk name is Bearheart and that I'm from Wisconsin Dells and I'm Bear Clan within the Ho Chunk tribe. And I introduced my my father, Ken Funmaker. His name is um, Big Bear in Ho Chunk. And then I introduced my mother. Um, 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 I introduced my mother and her name. Her name's a little hard to say, but I did my best. Um, so I guess my experience going through all this was like I was like it started in high school on my senior year. I got to go to we had a little program within my high school, and so I got to actually go to Kalahari and work out like half of the school day and stuff like that. So I didn't have to do like half the classwork. And so yeah, so that was nice. Um but afterwards I remember I think what was it? Like the high school advisory person you have I think that person told me like I probably couldn't get the supports I needed to go into college and stuff like that. And it was just kind of like, oh, like I don't think I can get into college because like I knew that I needed to have my needs met and stuff like that. And I know that like sometimes those were really important. And kind of just hearing that kind of like discouraged me. And so what happened was that my mother helped me find this program called Job Search. And I worked over here again at Kalahari. I worked at the bakery section, and I was told that I was the first ever person to work in that section because it was kind of a high demanding job. It kind of like required like high attention and kind of like high intensity work a little bit. Like one example like of a high order was that like we had to do, oh geez, what was it? It was like two 2,000 or 4,000 like desserts just for like a whole like conference room and stuff like that. So they can get their sweets. So yeah. um and um so that was kind of like happening 2019, 2020. And so I guess like as like that work was happening on, what happened in 2020? The pandemic hit. Um, and I remember that like they told us we couldn't go in there anymore because it was like too dangerous for us. And so like for me, I couldn't go. I like I didn't have anything to do. I was just kind of bored. I was at the house. My parents still had their jobs to do. And so I like my mom brought up kind of like, oh, hey Cody, like you should why don't you go to like to that cutting edge program? And I think I remember seeing them in like back in high school because like we did have like a little disability thing what is it, fair in the high school. And so she kind of brought that up. Um, and so I tried it out. Um, and I remember being told that kind of like it was kind of hard to get in because it's limited because of there's about like there could be about like 40 to 50 people fighting for like it depends on like how many people have graduated. So it could, like for example, like let's just say two only graduated, then like 50 people would have to fight for those two spots. And so they'd have to choose like over like they try to choose like the best applicants for that. And so I remember thinking, oh, I don't think I'm gonna get in. Like I remember I was a little nervous. Um, and I really did want to get in because I I wanted to do something. Like I at least because I knew I didn't know like the exact thing I wanted, like somewhat. I knew that I wanted to help out people. That was just kind of the big thing for me and kind of the goal I was going towards. And so these two helped me kind of like encouraged me to go into cutting edge because I would have never thought to go into that program at all. And so I got accepted. So that was pretty cool. And I remember asking them, one of the advisors over there, like, how many Native American students have you had in your program? And I remember being told, you're like the first one to be a part of it. And I was like, oh, really? Like, no one else tried to? This actually did happen for job search too, to obvious over here. Like they said, like I did ask, I was like, did any other like Native Americans go into this, go into job search? They're like, no, you're the first one. I'm like, oh my, like it was just kind of like it just felt weird and stuff like that. Like weird and I guess kind of honoring, but like somewhat daunting a little bit. Um and so that's kind of like my experience around this time. Um so I guess do you guys got questions? Yeah. Um I'm I've been on it for about almost 4 years, so 3 years right now. Um I'm a senior at Edgewood and I'm about to graduate next semester. So yeah. Anyone else? Any questions? Yep. Sociology. Yep. Yeah. Um, kind of like my main job, what I want to do is be a social worker. I was inspired by my grandmother. She is a social worker. And so that um we had a close relationship. And so she can help me inspired to help out people. And I guess going through like college and learning about kind of like I guess like society and like what people go through. And it's just kind of like um I want to help out people in any way I can. And so that's why I went into that field and that's why I want to be in that type of work. Mm, that's a good question. I think for me, what I wanted to do was work with people with disabilities mostly and stuff like that. Um, but I know like but also there was like another part of me that also wanted to work with the tribe, with my own tribe. But there is also another part of me wanting to combine both of them. But I know that one's gonna be a hard to like combine. So um so I'm I'm content with working with people with disabilities. Um that's kind of like my main goal. Oh, oh next year I'm gonna still be living in Madison. Um so yeah, kind of like at the same house I've been living for the past year. So yeah. Any other questions? Yep. So what they do is like kind of like help me with like I guess like with my coursework and stuff like that, kind of like with classes, like they would have like a course coach, like kind of like a tutor. Um they'd have like um they would have tutors for us and stuff like that. And they would help us with our classes. Because it's a little hard sometimes with all those courses, es- especially statistics. That was really hard. That was really hard. But they what they also do is like help with like independent living, kind of like I guess like making sure you get the skills and stuff like that, like with cooking or like, cleaning up your home and stuff like that, or transportation, kind of just like different aspects. And and I think they do have an alumni program too that like you can be a part of, and they still support you afterwards too. So yeah. Any other questions? Mhm. Mm. That's a that's a good question. That's oof. um, let's see. Mhm. The main reason I'm living in Madison, kind of like I guess specific to me, is that like the tribe kind of doesn't support like transportation throughout, like because we don't have a reservation. We're spread out through all Wisconsin and stuff like that. And so they aren't able to provide me transportation since I don't have a car. Um, so that's why I'm living in Madison, when because they have buses and stuff like that. I at least have that. Um, so that's kind of like a unique problem. And yeah, I guess that's a unique problem, I guess. Anyone? Oh, I'm planning to stay in Madison. I'd like to make that my new home. I like it a lot. Yeah. I think for me, it's just like the people are a lot more understanding than and then in the Dells. Because small town views a little bit. Um, and kind of like I I kind of just remember the experience of kind of seeing like disability discrimination within my high school and stuff like that, and kind of like that being like that really left a sour taste in my mouth. That was just really hard to see. And I remember at the time that was still when I wasn't confident with me having disabilities. I was just kind of like, let's see, I was I thought of myself kind of like lesser than everyone else and stuff like that I because I thought I couldn't live up to that standard and stuff like that, and that I wasn't, and that I would cause like trouble because of like my needs and stuff like that. And that was like a huge deal. And I remember my mom um taught me about our teachings and stuff like that, and kind of like how Western society kind of views us, people with disabilities, as like lesser than like compared to able-bodied people. And what my mother told me was that like is that we don't do that within our tribe. We try to back in the old days, we when someone would have a disability, we would try to figure out a way to like help incorporate them into like our own society and stuff like that, into like what they can do, even with like even with their own handicaps and stuff like that. And oh, can you hold this? So my mother told me that like Western society um see sees able-bodied people like this, while able-bodied people like this. But while us, we see each other as like equals and stuff like that. And I remember it was just kind of like hard to learn that, kind of like learn to accept that. And it was just like um I I think it was just like hard to like um I guess like accept my disabilities and stuff like that, because I wanted to pretend and be like, oh, like I don't have any disabilities and stuff like that, because I do have that privilege. But um I don't want to be fake anymore and do that. Um and I think I want to be more truthful about that. And so that's kind of like what our views are on disabilities and stuff like that. Mm, that's a good question. And I'd say kind of like geez, 2021. It was like high school. I I was like I was like really beating myself on that. I didn't feel confident in myself, and I felt kind of like this is kind of why I don't like my past self, because like I would try to distance myself from my other peers who had disabilities. I would try to be like, oh, like I don't have any, or I try to like not have any of my accommodations. Like I would like not take any. I'd be like, oh, I don't need accommodations. I can do this. And um those didn't go over well. I can tell you that. Um and so it just took a long time to like get over the fact that like that um that I am not lesser than, and that I'm equal like everyone else. And so I hope that everyone else can learn that too. Anyone else with questions? That's a good question. I think I think for me, kind of a big one is to like never hate yourself on like what you are, because that isn't going to go away. And I just I just want them to like themselves. Um, and because I know it's not a good feeling to have, kind of being hateful towards yourself. And so I just really hope that like if anyone like younger listens, that like um that they can get the message that like they shouldn't hate themselves. Um and in fact be proud of themselves. So yeah. I yeah, I'd say most I'd say like my mom introduced it and kept introducing it, um because she told me that like you that Western society thinks, oh, like you don't need to remember like learn that like more than once. Or she told me that like you can always be reminded of that, and stuff like that, because she gave an example of like her grandmother telling her a story, and then she couldn't remember the story anymore, because she said, oh, I remember that story. And so just like yeah, um I guess like just the constant reminders always helped me out to like to do that. And kind of like what also helped out was with the realization of like I guess like over time the realization with myself. And so that's kind of like what happened when I came to that conclusion. Any other? Oh, oh, um, I think how I see myself is still living in Madison. I'd still love to do that. But also I'd like to be in a social worker assistant role, because I realized that like I'm not cut out to be the main person, but kind of like the assisting person. And that's what I like doing most, being like the assistant kind of type role. So yeah, that's where I see myself. Anyone else? Okay. How do I not get distracted by Western culture? That's a good question. Thank you, Amber. Um, um, I guess I think for me, what's been really helpful is that like I've always had like cultural figures around me, and that like our our culture works more as a collective rather than individualistic. I guess that's what I mean by that is that like I guess I would put it like you would rather look out for yourself rather than others. While for us, we would try to help out the entire tribe, so that can help all of us and stuff like that. And so kind of like I guess like the whole unit kind of helped me like keep my identity and stuff like that. Um but I did have trouble um with that actually. When I was younger, I think it was like like middle school and high school actually. I I remember being so I I I was ashamed of being like Native American because no one appreciated like what I talked about and stuff like that. And I remember them making fun of like the power dancing and stuff like that and the singing. And I remember it was just kind of like, oh, that's kind of like uncool to my peers. Like maybe I should stop doing that and stuff like that because it was just kind of like socially unacceptable. And so I remember these two really wanted me to do stuff. And I think I still did, but like I remember like I was I wasn't the kindest at the time about that. And I guess what helped me out was kind of like my brother helped me realize that like I need to be like less selfish about stuff. And kind of I guess and that's in that way. And also the Ho Chunk learning language class helped me out to connect with my roots again. So that really helped me out. Um, and I guess for me, I've been mostly hanging around like a lot of like native people and stuff like that, which kind of helps me kind of like keep the influence of like my culture still alive. And I guess like that, I think that answers your question. So yeah. Um, any other questions? Oh, yep. Who influences me the most? Oh, um, oh boy. I guess I'll play Peacemaker and say that both of them influence me the most. So yeah, so yeah, because because I know if I choose one over the other will get mad at me. So yeah. Oh, you in the back? What do I like to do for fun? Oh, what I like to do for fun, I like to read books. Um, I like to play video games, watch movies, um, and I like to watch videos on YouTube a lot. Uh, oh, and I know, and this kind of like this one has kind of a big stigma around it. Um, and so please be nice to me. And so, um, a big thing I'm into is doll collecting. I'm a huge doll collector. That's kind of my pride and joy. So yeah, I love that a lot. Fashion dolls, kind of like, yeah, kind of like Barbie size and stuff like that. Mhm. Any other question? Oh, sorry. What were you gonna say? Thanks. Okay, any other questions? Sorry. Oh,
My name is hello. Yeah, my name is Ken, and Cody's dad, and we really tried to support him and like support him and and, like in academics and social life and just this is a ongoing thing, and it's all the time, every day. But, like, it's us all too. So, I'm really getting the education. Um, just kind of, just helping out as much as we can all the time, as much as we can, because, I heard my wife talking with somebody earlier, that they had their child, kind of grew up right in front of them, and, and they didn't really know, you know, it's kind of just stuck with me, just like, okay, that's kind of what happened here, he's kind of growing up, and it was like a flash, but all that time we supported him in whatever, and that he wanted, and his academic, he had a good diagnosis in the beginning, they, you know, people that whoever diagnosed him said that, he would never be in college, he would never be in school, all these other things, and through hard work, this is what hard work can do on both sides, on all, we're kind of that, like you said, we're a team, and I'm glad that he kind of bought into it, like, so, he's really flourished. That's what I want to say, really flourished. You would never know that this guy be the same guy like in grade school, to now, to I just like to say that, that I don't think they really supported him in school, and and helped him out in his dream. Like he said before, nobody heard him, and we need to not have that, because we have other students out there that, we don't know what, he just wants to be a part of society and help out, and do his part, and same way within our nation, that we're expected to help out, help our, just like you said, help out another tribal member or your relative, so it goes, there's a lot of people that helped him, and he's going to be doing the same thing, when he gets older. So that's what kind of rolls over, so that's I don't know, maybe my wife can elaborate more, that, but that's how I feel, and we're still not done, we're still supporting them on whatever, we gotta, like you said, we gotta take them over to go see where the hottest doll is, so, I'm getting an education too. Well, we did that nonstop since he was small. Every year we would, it was like, you know, we would seem like we'd be fighting a battle, every year, it's, I don't know, things like with our students here, it's like, you know, it's like these people forgot, who he was, and we got to start over from, okay, let's do this, and it's very frustrating, and and I know that, we knew that, because we, he had rights or whatever, and those rights weren't being met, and when we come up against a brick wall every, every year, and it seemed like we had to kind of, breaks through it all the time, every year. And I said, why do we got to do this every year? The same thing, we have to, you know, we always have to, things couldn't just, go smooth, and it's just like, it just see, it was kind of, but we kind of just stuck to our guns and we helped him out, and that's, and it's totally amazing that he got into cutting edge and, that, that he progressed that far, and I just want to just, what he's saying is, he did a lot on his own to get there. He wanted to be there. And so that's really the goal, to make them believe that they can do that, so I'm glad that he took on that challenge and he's still doing it and he's still challenging himself.
It's on.
Could you repeat the question? I think one of the big teachings in our many tribal cultures is we don't actually have a word for disability, and everyone has their own unique needs. So we don't punish our elders if they have to use walkers or get wheeled around in a wheelchair. Babies get bottles because that's what they need. As you know, one of the things we've been working on for many years is for Cody to know what his needs are and be unapologetic about it. If he needs something repeated or reworded, he should be able to ask for that and not feel ashamed. And we want him, if somebody uses a word that, it doesn't quite make sense, we want him to be able to say, hey, can you repeat that? Hey, it's too loud or too bright in here. Can I take a break? And so there's work to be done. There is work in the school systems with peers. That was part of the reason he didn't feel good about himself. The kids know when they're treated a little different. But also there's room for disability, awareness in school systems with general educators, and for people to be aware that if somebody didn't catch your direction the first time, it doesn't mean they weren't paying attention necessarily. It could be you were talking too fast, so that's probably been one of our biggest struggles is we want Cody to be proud of who he is and accept who he is. And so we try to preserve dignity of choice for him. He wanted to go to college. He wanted to be in a helping profession, and he votes. He wants to live in Madison. Of course, I would want him to remain with us here in the Dells, close to our community, but Madison is striking distance, and but I think that I've lost track of what the question was, but but that's also something that it's okay when we wander off topic, because awesome things can still come out of that. So anyway, thanks.
Any other questions? Are you guys good? Oh, I think for me, it's an honor and I very much appreciate it. But also, I guess like there's also this feeling of like weirdness a little bit too, kind of like having people look up to me. And so I feel like I know my mom and dad say, "Oh, like you don't feel like you don't have to be like you don't have to feel like you're living up to a standard," but I feel like in a way it feels like I have to. It's a really weird situation. So, like I don't hate it or anything like that, but like um it's just kind of like a weird it's kind of like something I didn't expect to be part of, I guess. I didn't expect to be a role model. So but I'll take the position and make something out of it. So yeah.